All right, so these are the notes that we're going to do to find the area of a circle. So for number one, we're going to go ahead and do area is equal to pi r squared. Okay, you have to identify what your radius is. So my radius goes from the center of the circle to any side of the circle. So my radius here is 4.5 meters. So I'm going to plug that into my formula. Area is equal to pi times 4.5 meters squared. And again, we're going to leave this in terms of pi. So it says around to the nearest tenth, but since we're not using calculators, we're going to leave it in terms of pi. So what we're going to do then is we have to square 4.5, which means you're going to do 4.5 times 4.5. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this out. 5 times 5 is 25, so there's my 5, carry my 2. 5 times 4 is 20, 20 plus 2 is 22. There's my 0. 4 times 5 is 20, carry my 2. 4 times 4 is 16, 16 plus 2 is 18, and then I'm going to add these together. So I have 5, and then 2, and then 2 plus 8 is 10, carry my 1, so that gives me 20.25. And the reason why I have two numbers behind the decimal is because if you look up here, I have two numbers behind the decimal, so I better have two numbers behind the decimal here. So 4.5 squared is 20.25, so I'm going to have 20.25 pi meters squared, and that's my final answer. So all we're doing today is we're going to take the radius and square it, which means that we are going to multiply it by itself. Okay, so here's number 2. Now, some of them are easier. Not all of them are decimals. So, look at number 2. Area is equal to pi times your radius squared. You write down what your radius is, which is 5 centimeters, and we're going to plug that into the problem. So, area is equal to pi times 5 centimeters squared. Okay, well, 5 centimeters squared means 5 times 5, which is 25. So, my answer here is area is equal to 25 pi centimeters squared. And since we're finding area, all of your answers should say squared. Okay? Number 3. So for number 3, we have area is equal to pi r squared. And yes, you're going to write this down every single time. My radius is 14 inches. So when I plug this in, area is equal to pi times 14 inches. All of that squared. So I'm going to do 14 times 14. 4 times 4 is 6, carry my 1. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. There's my 0. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. When I add this up, I get 6, 9, 1. So my area is 196 pi inches squared. Okay, number 4. So number 4, I have area is equal to pi r squared. Okay, well my radius is going to be half of 30.2. So 30.2, when divide that by 2, 2 goes in 3 1 times 2 is 2. When I subtract, I get 1, bring my 0 down. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. That's 0. Bring the 2 down. Okay, don't forget to put the decimal right up here. 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. When I subtract that, that gives me my remainder of 0. So my radius here is 15.1 centimeters. So I'm going to plug that in. Area is equal to pi times 15.1 centimeters squared. And so that means I have to do 15.1 times 15.1. So when I multiply this out, I have 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Carry my 0. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry my 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Carry 2 zeros. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. So when I add all this up, I get 1. That's going to give me 10. So I carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry my 1. That's going to give me a 2. I have 2 decimals behind up here. I have 2 numbers behind my decimal. So I need 2 numbers behind my decimal. So that's giving me a decimal right here. So my answer for my area is 228.01 pi centimeters squared. All right, number 5. So number 5, my area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is going to be half of 16.8. Well, that's pretty easy because both these numbers are even. Half of 16 is 8 and half of 8 is 4. So 8.4 centimeters. So my area is equal to pi times 8.4 centimeters squared. So off to the side, I have to do 8.4 times 8.4. 4 times 4 is 16, carry my 1. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 is 33. Do your 0. 8 times 4 is 32, carry my 3. And then 8 times 8 is 64, 64 plus 3 is 67. So I have 6, 5, 10, carry my 1, which is 7. I have 2 numbers behind the decimal, so I need 2 numbers behind the decimal, so my decimal goes right behind 70. So my area is equal to 70.56 pi centimeters squared. Okay, number 6. So number 6, we're going to do the same thing. Area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is half of the diameter. Half of 26 is 13, so I have 13 centimeters. So area is equal to pi times 13 centimeters squared. So I have to do 13 times 13. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Carry your 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. So when I add those together, I have 9. 3 plus 3 is 6, and there's 1. So my area here is 169 pi centimeters squared. Okay, so now number 7, I'm not given a picture. Okay, it's still fairly easy though. Area is equal to pi times your radius squared. My radius is 12 yards. So I'm going to plug that in. Area is equal to pi times 12 yards squared. So that means I have to do 12 times 12. And hopefully you know this from those multiplication facts. That's going to be 144. So my area is equal to 144 pi times yards squared. Okay. I'm going to skip number 8 for right now. We'll do probably about 4 more and then we'll be done. So number 9, we're finding the area. So area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is 12 feet. So area is equal to pi times 12 feet squared. And we just talked about this. 12 squared is 12 times 12 is 144. So I have 144 pi feet squared. Okay, number 10. So here I have area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is 10 centimeters. So I'm going to plug that in. Area is equal to pi times 10 centimeters. All of that is squared. And so what that means here is you have to do 10 times 10, which gives us 100. So I have 100 pi centimeters squared. All right. Number 11. I have area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is 8 meters, so I'm going to plug that in. Area is equal to pi times 8 meters squared. So 8 meters squared means 8 times 8, which is 64. So I have 64 pi meters squared. Okay, number 12. I have area is equal to pi r squared. My radius is going to be half of my diameter, so my radius is 2 meters. So area is equal to pi times 2 meters. All of that is squared. Well, 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4, so I have 4 pi meters squared. Let me double check to make sure there's not any other ones that you really need to know right now. Nope, you can completely ignore these bottom pieces for right now. All these other ones are fairly simple because they're nice and neat numbers. So that is it for the notes. Okay, the hardest ones are going to be whenever you have to multiply out with decimals, but it's the exact same rules. Okay, as long as you count how many numbers you have behind the decimal, that's how many numbers in your final answer you want behind your decimal. Okay, so now just work on the assignment.